Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I think it's time we seriously start reconsidering Paddy Pimblett and where he fits into this lightweight division because he looked on against Michael Chandler. Although there are a lot of questions regarding exactly where Michael Chandler is on the back end of his athletic career. But regardless, Paddy Pimblett, he looked improved leaps and bounds. The amount we've seen him improve over his UFC tenure has been honestly pretty impressive. Like, the guy came in with so much hype on his name from Cage Warriors, and I think the skills didn't necessarily match the level of expectations that were put on him when he joined the UFC. Regardless, I think those criticisms have to really be reevaluated after his last few performances, because not only is his striking looking drastically improved, where he was having success against Michael Chandler and Bobby Green on the feet for as long as those fights lasted, but the evolution on the ground, how elite Paddy Pimblett looks in the positions on the back, the mat returns, like, he has a very, very structured way of approaching the ground game, and his control, which leads to vicious ground and pound, an insane level of threat coming from submissions. We really have to look at Paddy Pimblett and where he stacks up at the top end of this division differently, because regardless of where Michael Chandler is in his athletic career, we didn't get the best Michael Chandler in that octagon. I don't think there's any question about that. But Michael Chandler, even at this stage of his career, carries a lot of power. And there were a lot of criticisms, like 2 years ago, after the way Paddy Pimblett was looking in the cage. If you had foretold this event just a couple years later, I don't think a lot of people would have believed you. So that's just a testament to how much Paddy Pimblett has been working. But his coaches and training partners as well, man. Like, the structure and the game plan that we hear Paddy Pimblett talk about in relation to these fights, he goes in there with a clear idea of how he wants this thing to go. And yeah, his coaches do a great job of studying and presenting Paddy Pimblett, the fighter, with a game plan like that. So kudos to all of them, but most importantly, kudos to Paddy Pimblett for living it out, because it's one thing to create it in the training room, but under all the bright lights, when the pressure's on, you get one crack. And Paddy Pimblett, he seems to thrive in that position. All of the stars in the UFC, combat sports in general, seem to thrive in that moment. And the electricity that Paddy Pimblett brings in with that fan base, with the hype on his name, I think is going to introduce some really, really exciting matchups down the line. Beating Michael Chandler, I think he's ranked 8th now, and regardless of that number next to his name, it is only huge fights from here on out. Like, I'd love to see a Dan Hooker fight. If they're trying to build Paddy in sort of the correct way, and that's another testament to the UFC. Like, this is a clear example that the UFC can build a prospect in the correct way. We've seen the other side of the coin so many times when you look at someone like Darren Till, just completely rushed into a title shot and was never the same since, in terms of the level of confidence he brought into that cage. So yeah, I think Paddy Pimblett is the perfect example of how it looks when the UFC really, really structures a prospect and develops them in the correct way. Like, yeah, Paddy Pimblett could be thrown in with those top names like Arman, Charles, Gaethje. But who knows, man? Like, if you wanna build him just that correct way, I think Dan Hooker is the next big fight. But I think Dan Hooker is expecting someone up the line. Having a fight with Gaethje booked, he's probably looking at bigger and better things. But regardless of who the name is, we're getting a massive fight from Paddy the Baddy at lightweight next. What do you guys think about his future and where he slots into this division? Because someone in myself who had not a lot of criticism, but a lot of question, and was sort of living on the ground more so with Paddy Pimblett as a prospect, but he's really opened my eyes and changed my opinion. I think his abilities, especially how he's able to just flow between positions, and testament to his striking, because his striking is built around his very, very nasty, effective, deadly ground game. But his striking now is starting to have an effect on these guys. And if you're starting to think about the striking when you're fighting Paddy Pimblett, it's going to make getting taken down a whole lot easier. So he's quickly becoming a very, very fierce, well-rounded fighter. And to have done that to Michael Chandler, to completely big brother him, was really special. And even if he won, I did not think it was going to look like that. So yeah, hats off to Paddy the Baddy. Yeah, like I'm preaching, I think we really need to reevaluate where he stacks up. But let me know what you guys think. If you didn't think that Michael Chandler was a big enough challenge for Paddy Pimblett, the next few names that come across the table sure will be. So it's really at the top end of that division where things start to get dangerous. So we'll see how it all shakes out, hey? Thank you guys so much for joining me, for tuning in. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, I would really, really appreciate that, and we'll chat soon.